So, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another of our Masterclass minis. And welcome to the wonderful Antoinette Daniel, of course, and the other wonderful, or even more wonderful, Lucy Ascham. So, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, Lucy.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Great. And we are as well. The bit of history is I met Lucy over a year ago now, and I am absolutely fascinated by her business, and I love hearing the stories of how she helps people. And December, as we all know, is a very, very busy time of year for lots and lots of people. So we wanted to have a well-being kind of element within our December Masterclass mini. And the perfect to have Lucy here with us this morning. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about Lucy, a little bit of her bio. She is a co-author of two #1 Amazon best-selling books. One is called One on Energy, and another is called Words of the Wise. I have copies of these books as well, so I can vouch that they are brilliant to read, really inspiring. So have a little look on there. We can drop the links in the chat at the end. Lucy is a mother of the wonderful 13-year-old little boy who is helping birth a better version of her, which I absolutely love. So the journey of motherhood is definitely that. The birth is not just the start, it is a very long, drawn out process. She enjoys hiking and reading and nights in front of the wood-burning fire and watching Strictly. Oh, it sounds like my perfect evening.
Woman after our own hearts. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I think we'll kick off straight away if that's all right. So Antoinette, it is a mini, so we're going to be short and fast. Antoinette, do you want to start off with question #1?
I do. So, question #1, Lucy Ascham. What does a body and soul energy expert actually do? And why on earth do business owners need one?
Oh, yeah, it's such a good question. It's a struggle to try and kind of encapsulate some of the work that I do. So body and soul kind of says, we live in a body. Some of us don't. We kind of live in brains on sticks and somehow get around and only pay attention to our body when it's in pain, when there's something kind of gone wrong. So I'm encouraging people to kind of get more friendly with living in a body and to actually learn how to drive it with some skill and consciousness, because otherwise we tend to bump into things, we drop things, we end up, tight, tense, all those things. So yeah, Alexander technique, which is one of my modalities, helps people to really live in their body in a kind and gentle way, but also to find their inner strength, primarily around their head and spine connection. But it can really help calm the nervous system and basically help us to do whatever it is we want to do, be that sport or music or something, and to do that in a way that's going to be more sustainable for our body. So that's one of the things. And then I also do family constellations work, which is ancestral healing, which is not to do with, astrology as such. It's more like a living model of what history we've got in our body and how that sometimes kind of comes out in our pores. We don't necessarily know what it is we're struggling with or burdened by. So that's the kind of soul part of the journey. But of course, we've got emotions. We're not just bodies, we're not just soul, it's all our emotions as well. And when they're out of balance, sometimes people need, somebody to listen to. So I'm not a therapist as such, but what I do is very therapeutic. And in that sense, I've got some amazing training on how to really listen in ways that heal brains from traumas, big and small. So that's my best attempt. Energy, obviously, is, what we're all made up of, and we don't have, there's no way to kind of actually destroy energy. So it just gets transmuted, transformed into different things. So if we're sad and tense, we can actually find ways of releasing that. I help teach people that. So they've got tools for helping themselves so that they can actually be more open and calm or delighted or joyful or whatever it might be. So yes, and people need it. So people are, in all these businesses, and people are often struggling because of the dark and the busyness and the stress and the expenses and all sorts of things this time of year. So, I'm looking to help give people sort of practical things that they can actually do to help themselves in terms of pain, back pain, posture, breathing, those kind of things. But also if there's people not looking forward to Christmas and family and things that are a bit sticky, we can dive into that as well.
Mm.
Answer your question, all right?
Yes, it does. That sounds really rich, actually. I could
It is.
definitely, as a business owner, I can definitely understand why many of those things would be impactful on my life and on my career.
Absolutely. It is. And I think I've just learned so much over knowing Lucy over the last year, and, the family constellation things, and, the pain and how we hold it all in our body. It's such an important thing, but obviously an overlooked thing for lots of people. So yeah, it was a whole new area of awareness now I have in terms of me and well-being. So no, absolutely fascinating. And well done, Lucy, on putting it so succinctly. So brilliant job. So I really want to know how you started your business and why. How did you get into this wonderful world?
I started it because I needed it. So I was a music student back in the day, early 1990s, and had stage fright. So, would stand on stage having practiced my trumpet playing, and there I was, tight as a bundle of nerves. And I literally couldn't move my head to look at the pianist. I was so tense, and my fingers were already a bit compressed because I was so tight. So afterwards, one of the teachers said, oh, I think you could use some help here. Do you want beta blockers? I'm like, no, that's heavy heart medication. I rarely do even an aspirin, so that's not for me. What else? And they suggested this Alexander technique. So for myself, I kind of found this incredible journey of somebody touching me incredibly lightly and just sort of joining in with me, but with a gentle guiding touch. And I felt tall. I had to get in my car and sort of readjust the rear view mirror and the side mirror in my seat because my body had changed over the course of an hour. And over time, what I found is that I had some tools that would actually help me consciously to unclench and come out of that fight and flight reflex. So it wasn't a scary situation, in fact, to be playing in front of people who wanted to listen to me. They were there wishing me well, and they wanted me, to hear some beautiful music. But somehow in my brain, I'd kind of got all this coordination stuff. So what I love about the Alexander technique is it looking at all the links for all the bits along the whole system of our body, our mind, our emotions, our physicality. And it helps to kind of smooth out some of those things just by using our mind in a very specific way. So that's when I started. And then, 10 years later, I actually trained as an Alexander teacher, which is a full-time 3-year training course.
My word.
During that, things happened, and I then needed and found the constellations work. But in terms of when I started my business, I started working with people back in 2003, but it wasn't until COVID that I kind of went, oh, I'm a business, right? I've just been doing what I do, working from home often and going into work at, the BBC Philharmonic and Manchester University and what have you. But I didn't realize I was a business person until fairly recently, when it's like, oh, what do I do now? So I've been on quite a steep learning journey in the last few years to kind of go much more professional and business minded about what I do and how I share it.
Wow.
I want to go a bit off piste, if that's okay. I'm sorry. I get worse at these as the masterclass ones go on. Get more and more curious, I think. Is there a particular aha story that for a client that you've got in your head that you could share?
There's many. So actually quite early on in my career, there was a man who was approaching 70, and he came to me because his wife said it would be a good fit. So he was basically facing surgery because he'd got a numb shoulder, numb arm, tingles in his hands. And he found it very hard to kind of get down onto the floor to play with his grandkids. He couldn't sit and do his work very easily. And he was really scared about the surgery because, although they can do amazing things, there's huge risk involved in any neck or spine surgery as well. So he came with some reluctance, and, almost in the first couple of sessions, I was able to help him learn that the background tension that he's holding in his body, he didn't realize it, he didn't know he was doing it, it was just normal, and that was his habit, was actually then impinging and pinching a nerve in his spine, in his neck. And so together we kind of helped him to realize, oh, this is me when I'm tight, and this is how I can release. And so then there was no more surgery, but there was a lot of good Lego playing on the floor. So it was a really amazing sort of transformation. Wow. Yeah.
Powerful stuff.
Yeah. Absolutely. Now I can think of people already who have tingling and other, and tension here and all that. That's so common, isn't it? And again, be mindful of trying to release that and how much it's preventing you from living your best life and, as I say, enjoying your life to the full.
And I think what happens is people kind of go for the manipulation, which, can, help with the symptom control, depending on what it is, can make it feel nicer or actually sort of change some things. But what I do is help people with their habits so that you can have the kind of, manipulation, perhaps, if that's what you like or want, but actually learning how to actually change it for yourself is much more kind of ongoing and sustainable and empowering, of course, as well. But, you don't have to have any cricks and cracks either. You can just have a very gentle kind of awakening touch to kind of go, oh yeah, and this bit belongs to me as well. And oh yeah, I don't have to clench it so hard. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So my actual question, sorry, a whole nother line of questions in my head, but my actual question is, what would you say are the most common challenges for the people that you support, businesses or individuals?
I think the common challenge really is for people to come and actually look after themselves. I think as business people, we're very good at, just kind of ploughing on, and there's always something else to do. There's always little bits of, so that's people to really prioritise their own health and to pay for it, I'm afraid, because, with our wonderful NHS services, it's very stretched and strained, but we're not used to paying for services, up front in that way. So people, need lots of things. They don't necessarily know what even exists, but they're sometimes to actually prioritise themselves and put their, invest in their health.
It's absolutely, and I think it's definitely an awareness I have now, that's similar to me. My business has been going for 6 years, but it's only really been the last, 3 that I've gone, oh, yeah, I'm actually this business owner, and this is what I need to do. Very similar in terms of that. And there is a well-being and a looking after to maintain the founder of these businesses. It's really, really important to do that, but hard to sometimes make that shift and diarise that as a key essential way of an essential way of moving forward, definitely. So no, food for thought. I wonder how many people that little nugget will resonate with in our audience there. I feel many. Comment below if you have, if that resonates with you and you are not prioritising yourself and your well-being. I know I need to write me in there sometimes. So my next question is, what is your professional superpower, Lucy?
Seeing things which are not visible, which might be a slightly unusual kind of answer, but I think part of my certainly my Alexander training is about in my quality of touch. So it's about listening and really kind of seeing the connection between. So I might have my hands on somebody's head or neck region, but actually I can feel what's going on in their ankles. There's that kind of connection I can observe through my hands. And then during COVID, we had to then sort of do. So I've kind of learned how to observe people's nuanced movement patterns. And even though I might only be seeing this part of them on the screen, because I work on Zoom as well as in person, I can actually tell what's going on with their feet, perhaps, or tension in their buttocks or back or wherever it might be. So observation, I think, is one of the things. And that also is with the family constellations, because I have to have a stance. We're looking at the kind of what connects one person to another, what connects an element to another in the family system. So we've got the body system, we've got the family system, and then we've got that in terms of community and religion and countries and all those bigger pieces as well. And so my work is somehow to kind of see who's not there, see what's missing or who's missing, and to see what that connection is like in between these elements. So yeah, I think that's the linkages, the connections, the invisible stuff. That's what I deal with.
X-ray vision, I'm going to call it. I'm going all superpower, definitely. I can feel my marketing brain going.
We've just got one more question, and it was posed by our last guest, Sarah Marshall, and her question, and so for your question, it could be anything, but her question is, what is your favorite cheese and why?
Interesting. So
We said it could be anything.
he is, and that's interesting. So at one time it would have been brie. At
Oh,
the moment, I'm kind of better able to deal with goat's cheese and things. So feta. Uh, is it made by goats? Is it made by sheep? I don't know. But anyway, I love a good bit of feta.
ooh.
Thank you,
Lovely
Sarah.
feta salad, yes, nice.
I am in deep agreement with that, particularly fresh, it's Greek feta. Yes, all good. What would you have your feta with?
Well, I've actually got it for lunch, so it's leftover brown rice with some veggies on top.
That sounds amazing.
Mhm.
Nice.
Yeah,
Good
it makes
answer.
me very
Good.
hungry. It's lunchtime, I'm hungry.
I think we had so much debate about this when we had Sarah on Masterclass Mini that I think we're going to put a poll out this week to the tribe to see what cheeses are out there. So we'll have feta as one option. We'll have Sarah's, which was she had a blue cheese. I can't remember what it was. I'll find out. I'll pop that as another option, and we'll see what other options come up as well. But Lucy, thank you so
Controversial.
much for entering into that question, but also for the wisdom and the knowledge that you've dropped. I think what's impacting me, and it comes through your personality and character as well. I'm sure that's not the case for every practitioner, but just the gentleness and the sort of intuitiveness of the way that you practice sounds really, really amazing, powerful actually. So it's definitely opened my mind a little to seeking alternative forms of therapy, which, well, I'm saying alternative, I think the Alexander technique is very much embedded in society, but it's just something I'd not heard about. So thank you very much.
The other ones are much more recent and quite groundbreaking. So yeah, I'm really excited because I think what I offer is actually a unique blend of these three different things. So yeah, I'm excited to bring that to the world.
Brilliant. Actually, I do have one last question for everybody. Sorry. Can you work online and remotely with people, or must it be face to face?
No, absolutely, I can work online with people. So even before COVID, I'd sort of was practicing the Alexander technique online. That's, you know, a wider kind of topic of debate in this. But I know I've been able to help people, you know, somebody who couldn't even put their socks on was living in Manchester. I'm in Sheffield. And during COVID, we worked together for a few months. And by the end of it, he's actually able to put his socks and shoes on if he wants to. He can get back on his bicycle. And I never actually met him at all. And the constellations work has often been done online. So one of my teachers is in America, her teacher is in Russia. So I'm kind of learning from all sorts of, you know, incredible leaders throughout the world. And it's very effective. I like working one-to-one with people, but also in terms of groups. And I've got a few lovely places where I get invited to go and work. So yeah, it's great. It is very, very portable. And, you know, I'm working with somebody in India this week, somebody in Switzerland, America, and just down the road in Leeds as well.
Oh, how unglamorous.
Yeah.
It's been
Brilliant.
fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. No, it's amazing how technology can just help so many people now, and how we have all those different avenues to do that. So yeah, no, as I say, if you're not following Lucy, please do. Please go on her socials and have a look at all of the wonderful things that she's doing. And as always, we're always here, all of us, to answer any questions that you have. So feel free to add any comments into the chat below. Definitely. And I think that's it. I think we'll keep it short and sweet, but it's been absolutely wonderful to speak with you this afternoon, Lucy. And I'm sure people, when they watch this, will have the moment that I have, and I think that Antoinette's also had on this call in terms of how different but how necessary the work that you do is. So thank you very much for sharing it with us this morning.
Absolute pleasure. Than's for having me.
No
Thank
problem.
you very much, and see you for online coffee next week, everyone.
Absolutely, yeah. Come and join us for a coffee and a chat if you would like. We're doing those next week as well. So yeah. Right, everybody, take care. Bye.
Bye.